another episode of Commanda's Chateau chat room, or whatever you want to call it. Today's topic: manual combat. Manual combat is something I'm pretty sure most of you guys aren't familiar with in this game for obvious reasons, mainly the button in the top left. So, I've spent probably 20 hours, yes, 20 hours doing manual fights for this last EX event. Going for high scores, all that jazz, min-maxing some movements and whatnot. And I can tell you right now, manual combat for the most part is not bad, that much. But for some scenarios, it is pretty bad. And I mean, it is bloody awful. Now, in manual gameplay, there are some neat tricks that I could talk about probably later on in the video, like auto tapping, vanguard pivoting, line of scrimmage, speed boost, stuff like that. But that's not my concern as of right now. My concern as of right now is a lot of the features for manual gameplay is kind of janky, especially in this stage of development we're going through as of right now, where like for fleet content, probably guild content as well, it's gonna have more manual style of gameplay where we have to dodge stuff or like use proper skills during the proper time frames and whatnot. It has to make sense for manual gameplay. Now, what I'm getting at is they're slowly adding these features in where we have to play manual, but at the same time, this game wasn't designed to have the best manual experience. It was not. This game is legit designed to have an auto battle experience. So with that being in mind, I'm sure the devs that created the manual part of the game for this update didn't take into consideration that a lot of these features that I'm going to talk about in this video isn't that great. It's not. Alright, anyways, I'm going to start getting into the discussion. Now, the first thing I want to get into is salvos. Now, salvos is when you launch a BB active skill in the bottom right corner of the screen. When you press it, you hold onto it, and then you release it. You fire a projectile depending on how your gun, and it hits the enemy, or it can miss as well, and then it does damage. Now, the first takeaway as to why this is pretty bad, at least to me, is that, well, you have to be in the line of sight for enemies for you to shoot at the enemy. What I mean by this is the only way to manually shoot your projectile for salvos on a BB or BC or whatever is you literally have to get in front of the enemy while you do this. Now, this is bad because it restricts a lot of movement, because there's some scenarios where you can't face the enemy. You can't get in that line of sight, because if you do, you're going to take some damage. And depending on the content you're doing, if you take damage directly from whatever you're doing manual salvos for, you're going to lose a lot of health. I'm just going to say it right now, you're going to lose a lot of health. So that's not rewarding at all. And also, when you do manual salvos, or salvos in general, some of them just flies off the screen. Now, it probably plays in some kind of like RNG calculation or whatnot. But there's a lot of scenarios, especially when I was doing my EX fight, where I auto-tapped my skills. And I kid you not, if I'm using like AP MK6 as my main gun, and I auto-tap my stuff, I swear to God, the first salvo just like flies off the screen. It's like, it goes to like Mexico or something, or like Antarctica. It's not even close to hitting the enemy, and I auto-tapped it. Auto-tapping means and when I quickly tap the top left corner of my screen where it says auto or whatever, when you auto battle, your BB salvos will immediately go off as soon as you hit that auto button, meaning it will automatically lock into the enemy target and it will fire right away. Now, this is really good at EX fights because while you're dodging, you can't really manually shoot, but you want to do damage as well. So when you auto tap the top left corner, you can get a quick burst in of damage. Now, it might not be a lot of damage because you're losing the manual aim bonus you get when you aim a salvo. You get like, I don't know how much more damage, like 20-30% around there. You lose that, but you're guaranteed it's gonna hit something, at least I hope so. Damage when you auto tap it, and then as soon as you tap the auto button, you press it back again, turning it back from auto to manual, and you can regain control of your vanguards. And the manual salvos from the BB just goes straight at the enemy, no problem. Again, I don't like this because the damage or the aim is really RNG. Even on manual gameplay, I feel like the aim sometimes is bloody awful. Like, they could at least make it so like the splash damage is probably bigger radius or something. I don't know, but holy crap, dude! Like when I'm shooting a gun with like three salvos and two of them hit, I'm like, holy Jesus, dude. I mean, but that's probably like game intended or whatever. But that's so awful. Like I hate it so much. Yeah, that's the salvo part of the game. Um, Also, when it comes to like the line of scrimmage or whatever, now there's ways to get around it, right? If you guys aren't already aware, the line of scrimmage, if you have enough speed as like a DD or whatever, you can bypass that. Now it's really really funny, really really cool, but I personally just don't like doing that a lot. Well, you can if you want to. I just personally don't. But if you're not using like specific ships to bypass that line of scrimmage, you're restricted on how much you can move. At least depending on like the ships you use. Heavy cruisers, you don't get much to move at all because you just have very very small area movement, especially in that like little rectangle you have, versus a DD that has like the free reign if you have enough speed to bypass this line of scrimmage. It's weird. I don't like it. And then there's like vanguard pivoting. This is or like vanguard movement in general. This is one thing I really don't like about manual gameplay is that vanguards, even though they have lower health pool compared to like backline carriers and BBs and BCs, they take the brunt of the damage of like every scenario, unless you're going against like a full BB enemy or whatever. Whereas your backlines will take damage. Most of the time, though, like 90% of this game, your vanguard is going to take most of the damage, which makes no sense. Well, it does make sense, but at the same time, it's like there's nothing harming the backline, even though they have the most HP pool. With that being said, when games will become bullet hell and there's gonna be like a lot of hard content where we have to dodge things, and we're using 3 vanguards, like I've said before, there's not much movement. You gotta stack speed, and if you stack speed and you dodge around, your hitbox is still huge, but everything else is like kind of weird and janky. And then if you guys notice my EX fights, there is literally no reason to use 3 vanguards versus 1. Now, I kid you not, once they add like guild content and 4th fleet stuff, that'll probably be less punishing where you can use the full 3 vanguard. But even then, the game doesn't reward using 3 vanguards a lot for most of the part. You just have a higher health pool and like higher effective health, I guess, for vanguards, because if your vanguard stinks, you lose the match or you lose the sortie. So if you have like say 3 ships at 5,000 health versus 1 ship at 5,000 health, you have 3 times more health most of the time. If you want to think of it that way, you have 3 times more health, but your hitbox gets slower. I mean, your hitbox is bigger, your movement gets slower, stuff like that. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. And then crit. Oh my god, crit is so. I hate crit, dude. Now, for the people that really get into competitive EX fight ranking or leaderboard, you guys already know. Getting up there, getting for like the top scores requires RNG from crits, because crits, if you use black and white shells, your modifiers become off the charts. You like do almost double damage to the point where it doesn't even care about what gear you use, because in EX fights, the less gear you use and the less power you have on your ship means you get more points. You can legit use nothing, but you gotta score some crazy crits, meaning you're gonna have to reset your runs a lot of times to get that perfect run where everyone procs and everyone gets crits. That's not fun. Now, there's one thing I don't like about games is where you should either have a lot of crit options or you should have no crit options. Because if you have no crit, okay, everyone basically does the same damage. It's consistent, right? And if you have a lot of crit, okay, you can choose to build for that higher percent crit build, which works out. In this game, though, you don't have that option because the most crit you're gonna have is probably like, aside from your base amount, you stack luck. You get 2 Soulful Warriors that gives 3% crit each, and you have the Black Shell, which gives 8% crit. That's like 14% crit they can stack. That's not a lot. That's like 1 in 7 chance right there. That's not a lot. So either remove crit, which I don't think they should do, or add more crit ways, or add more ways to get crit. Because when it comes to these kind of like fights where crit is important and we need that damage, it's not consistent. That's the thing. Because I'll do 10,000 damage right here, but hey, I crit. Now I did 18,000 damage. That's a big difference. That's almost double damage right there. But it's not consistent. That's what I hate. Meaning fights will just be, well, I didn't crit, time to reset. This could apply for the hard fights as well. What if you get a run where it's like, oh, I cleared the first time because I got some crazy crits, but this time around I failed because I didn't get crits, right? Making runs consistent means it's better. It can be less mind taxing, if that makes sense. While it may seem fun, and don't get me wrong, when I was doing the 20 hours of EX fights or whatever, it was a struggle at first getting the right RNG. Oh, right. I just remembered. Skill procs. I hate skill procs. It is the worst thing in the game. From Helena scans to Monarch's Barrage. I hate all of it. I really do. Now, how they can fix this is make proc rates 100% but lower the values. Or just add some kind of way to like make proc rates a higher percent. Like add an aux into this game that gives like 30% more proc rate or something. I don't know, right? But making it so it's like, oh, you have a 70% chance to barrage. You have a 50% chance to do double damage. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. It is so RNG, like why? Like this is not Kantai Collection or whatever that game is called, where even though you have perfect gear, the fight is still RNG as hell. The game is not like that. Don't make it like it, because that is not fun whatsoever. When you have the game when the game is literally pure RNG combat, no, that is not fun. So retweak that, because I don't like the 70% chance to do double damage, 50% chance to make enemy take more damage, 40% chance to heal, 20% chance to go again, stuff like that. That's dumb. Make it 100% and retweak the values, or revamp the skills, or do something like that. Anyways, that is my hot take for this video, for this Commanders chat. Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy. It's just, since we're getting guild updates probably this month in October, and then 4th Fleet content's probably coming in December, I figured most people are probably going to play manual, and you guys will understand why manual combat is such a drag in this game. So if they could somehow improve on that, make it a lot more smoother of an experience, that'd be very, very good. Because those 20 hours spent EX fights, even though it was fun, going for high scores and top scores, the RNG was mind-boggling to no end. Let me know what you guys think.